I'd like to call to order the City of Saugatuck City Council meeting for February 9th, 2026. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, thank you for filling in for Jamie today. Will you call the roll?
Sure. Anderson.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Muncy.
Here.
Peterson.
Here. We have a quorum. So will someone make a motion to excuse Lauren's absence?
I'll make a motion to excuse Lawrence Stanton.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mayor's comments. So I'm delighted to see Deputy Mark Levitz with us in the audience today. A friend of mine called me, I don't know, it was a week and a half or so ago, in a panic because she was stuck going into the condos at the corner of Blue Star and Lake. Like really stuck. And he drove by and pulled up and asked if they needed help and got them a truck to come tow them out and stay with them until everything was resolved. But so she had called to ask if I knew a tow truck. And so, of course, I said, texted Lauren, got a recommendation, called her back, but we exchanged many exchanges, text messages that night, just how appreciative and the small town sheriff feels. So I just wanted to share that with everybody because we do still, we still have people who serve our community and know us and pitch in. So thank you. And it's great to see you, to be able to thank you in person for that. And that's my comment. Ryan?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council. I think my report, I'll let it stand on its own. I trust that you've read that. Just maybe a couple more pieces to add. Received notice today that the doors came in for the new bathroom at Mountain Baldhead. So those are installed and look great. I know Scott's going to go and take a closer look here this week. So excited to have those. We're getting closer and closer to that being finished up. And then on your comments on the sheriff's office, I emailed all of you following the last meeting, but just as a reminder, your next regular meeting, Sergeant Haas will be here for kind of the sheriff's department's annual reports, and I did pass along that you still had questions and requests for further data, especially related to response times and that sort of thing. So I think he's prepared to at least kind of answer some of those questions and talk about their progress towards providing that information. So other than that, I think that's all I have for tonight. We're working on a lot of projects, but they're all before you on your agenda. So we'll talk about them as we go.
Great. Questions for Ryan?
Madam Mayor, good evening, everybody. I'll ask a couple questions once we get to the reports portion of this.
Okay.
Want me to ask them now?
Great.
Okay.
Agenda changes.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to offer a agenda change. I'd like to add 10B, item 12, the Tri-Community Wildlife Committee. That committee sunsetted, but the other communities would like to have one final meeting to kind of compare notes on March 4th of this year. So if we could add that just as a discussion item, I can get a read from the council if they want to send me back to that meeting.
Second,
I'll second that.
Yeah.
all in favor, say yes.
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 Okay, we'll add that to 10B. Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Anything else for the agenda? No guest speakers. So this is the first public comment. No guest speakers.
I didn't have any notes with me. Yes. I'm sorry, I forgot.
My name's Tom. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Is this for you?
This is the one from this morning that we talked about.
That would be a public comment at the end.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, we're getting to public comment, so, okay, so, this is our public comment. This can be on any topic that's on the agenda. So, Tom? And what was your last name again?
My name is Tom Simon, SIVER.
Okay.
I apologize, I don't like the podiums.
We need you at the mic, though, to pick up your sound for the video that Gets posted. Okay.
Coached 9 years of college football, so podiums are kind of.
Yeah.
my thing.
Okay.
My name is Tom Cyber. I'm running for the 57th District Court here in Allegheny County. We have two open positions. Judge Weiger retired. Judge Scotchless is timed out or aged out by statute. And now's the appropriate time for me to come into the position. I've practiced law 19 and a half years, 13 of it with my father. He was a Marine. He taught me how to be a lawyer. I've gone with him since I was about 3 or 4 years old, carried his briefcase, been involved, and it's been a great opportunity for me. Spent 13 years with him. He retired. I spent 2.5 on my own. I was practicing criminal law, civil defense, defended a lot of people on debt collection. I also worked for the debt collectors out of Detroit. In my 2.5 years by myself, I spent 8.5 years with my dad, and those 2.5 years practicing law as the city attorney for the city of Greenville. I did all of their prosecutions. I did all of their abuse and neglect cases, all of their children's cases. Got to know the public and got to make sure we administered justice through grace. I had 23, 24 officers that worked for me at any one given time. Actually, reverse that. They didn't work for me. I worked for them. They would write tickets or they would have warrants. I would make sure that I supported our officers and we got our citizens. We didn't convict them. We got them our help. We got them our services that I could get provided to them. After the 8.5 years, I spent approximately 24 months representing Mike and Bill Null. They were accused of wanting to kidnap the governor of the state of Michigan. Now, here's the significant portion of that. Whether you agree with them or not, I didn't have to have opinions of whether or not I agreed with them or not. My job was to do my job. And I did my job and I supported our citizens.
I'm going to pause you quickly. We have a 3-minute time limit, so I just want to make you aware of that. We started the clock late, so when that gets to about 1.5 minutes, you can have a whole minute more to wrap it
My
up.
goal is this. My goal is to be a judge for the people. My goal is to apply the letter of the law. You guys make the statutes and ordinances, right? My job is simply to take them, look at the action that the police officer is charged, and make sure it fits. So I need to apply the letter of the law. I need to not legislate from the bench because that's your job. I need to do my job. I will support the police officers and I'll support our people by making sure that we take any convictions or any of our citizenship that needs the services and we wrap around them and make sure that we help them. So I'm asking for your support and your vote. My last name is Cyber, spelled like silver without the L. S-I-Z as in victory, E-R, and come November, please support me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to make a comment on an item that's on tonight's agenda? Anyone on Zoom?
I don't see any hands.
All right, what closes the public comment, takes us to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion? Yes,
I move we approve the consent agenda, item A, B, C, and D is presented on the agenda.
One second.
any discussion, questions? All right, it's a roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy,
Yes.
and Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Takes us to staff reports. City manager, we heard Ryan's opening remarks, questions, Russ?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Couple items. One is the AT&T update. Again, thank you for the email late last Friday after your conversation with AT&T. For the public, AT&T has decided to step away from that project at Mount Bald Head. And I believe this is an opportunity. I think it's time to hit pause for a moment and let's step back. And this is an opportunity. We should be leading on this. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about the success of the small cell towers that Verizon has put in. We need, personally, I'd like to see some data on how successful that's actually been. They tell us it's worked. I'd like to get some data from them, but going forward, we have money in the budget. I believe as one of our higher priorities in our last session is to take a look at the telecommunications needs of the community. Not just cell coverage, but Wi-Fi, fiber optics, everything else that goes into making us, I'd like to see us be a really truly a wired community. I think this is a great opportunity to tie in the village of Douglas as well as this township. We're all facing similar needs, and I think this is a wonderful time for us to step back and say, okay, what do we need as a tri-community? And that was one of our major priorities in our discussion too. How do we further collaborate? This, I think, is a wonderful opportunity to take that step and see if they have some needs and maybe able to align on that. So I would not rely on AT&T or any other carrier to tell us what's good for our community. We should be telling them what we'd like to have for our community. So again, it's on our priorities. We have money in the budget for assistance with that. So that's something I would definitely like to see us do. And two is the Mount Bald Head upper platform and retaining walls. Again, thank you for the update. Will this be coming back to council at some point for a workshop to kind of discuss we saw plans a while ago and like to see those again, just kind of see what the total scope of the project is. Excuse me.
I mean, I'm happy to send the engineering proposal that you approved and the concepts as kind of a refresher and as our, engineers, work through their design. And we're happy to share a copy of those plans as we, receive them. I mean, certainly we're not going to award any bids or anything like that without your approval, but I can send that. It's been there's been a period of time since you approved
Right.
the engineering
Yeah.
proposal. And so if it helps to provide a reminder, I'm certainly happy to do that.
Thank you.
On the telecommunications, route, and we talked about it a little bit at your workshop as it related to kind of the line item that you had for consulting services. A good chunk of that was taken with the parking consultant, and then assuming you approve the firm for the logo and branding tonight, that's going to take another big chunk of that. So there's not going to be a whole lot of dollars really left in that line item unless there was for probably a lot of consulting services on telecom. And my read, and you can all tell me if I'm wrong tonight when you have your priorities discussion, was that we discussed this a little bit at your strategic planning session that, we had a discussion about whether or not the city wanted some fuller plan and wanted to kind of, drive some of this, or whether it was maybe something that should be, driven by the private sector and through competition and that sort of thing. So my takeaway was that there was a desire for this to be more of a private sector driven outcome than maybe us, given the size of our municipality, necessarily coming up with certain pieces of it. So I'm glad to hear that AT&T is at least still engaged and willing to pursue small cell. You actually have, or we have, small cell ordinance actually on our books, so they could choose to apply for that anyway. I know there's been interest, and there's been suggestions to look at additional sites for cell towers. Right now, as it stands today, your zoning doesn't allow for it.
Right.
So there's that piece, and then frankly that. The other area that's been proposed is also an area that might also have some historical significance and might run into some of the same, challenges and that sort of thing. So, but we're here to work on what you'd like us to work on or your priorities. And I think it's something that maybe during your priorities tonight, you could discuss a little bit.
If I may, I'll offer some thoughts on this AT&T item. It's very disappointing, but I believe we should keep the lines of communication, positive communications open with AT&T. And any other telecoms company that comes to us with a proposal. I think we need to be really mindful of what we could have had. The contract, I believe, would have paid the city $30,000 a year in revenue to have a telecom in that tower. That tower has been used for telecoms ever since it was acquired from the Air Force. R.J. Peterson had an antenna he would use to communicate with his boat shop in Indiana. There's a TV camera there that's not used anymore, but they were paying rent. There was a wireless provider doing internet that was for a period paying the city to provide internet. So it is an important part of, not only is it a historic and iconic part of our community, but it is a piece of infrastructure that I believe we should bring back into productive use. And I think that's doubly important given the incredible cost associated with maintaining this iconic structure. And I think we all agree that we don't want to see the radar tower go away. But the fact of the matter is, it dates back to the late 1950s. If any of you have had the chance, some of us have had the opportunity to go up in the dome. It's becoming increasingly translucent. The fiberglass is quickly wearing out. Once it wears out and becomes exposed to the elements, I know one member of the historic radar preservation group was extremely alarmed that if that dome gets worn away enough that the elements start coming in, and you all have seen the weather we've been having with our winters and even some of our summer storms, it could quite easily destroy that dome. There's the added cost of painting it. It's in desperate need of paint. That is a very expensive proposition. I mean, we know that people do paint water towers and the like, but Councilman Gardner and I both have seen from bitter experience how difficult it is to maintain that site. Scott Herbert's there. I think he can attest to the difficulty of maintaining the site, the cost associated. It took us months upon months to find a fence vendor that could get up there and secure the site. It took us a great deal of time to get a roofer to come and do a temporary repair to the roof. And, we've worked very hard, thanks in great measure to a lot of really dedicated volunteers, Chuck Gustafson in particular, who continues to go up there and maintains the site for us at no cost. But there's some real expense associated with maintaining this iconic structure. And I firmly believe that it has been used as a piece of infrastructure since it was acquired from the Air Force. It's great that it's a historic site, but there are plenty of historic sites that can also continue to provide good for the community in terms of being a piece of infrastructure. So I would continue to have positive discussions with AT&T and anyone else that's interested in, that antenna. I think it's an important piece of infrastructure for us. So I would not hit reset. What I would do is I would, if Jill Dunham with the county is still available, I would have her come in and give us the latest lay of the land. We haven't had her in a while. And that would be something that wouldn't cost us anything.
And she would come in because why?
She's been doing countywide broadband. Jill's come to us before, and she has her finger on what's been going on. And, as we all agree, this is a fast moving target. I mean, who would have known we would have had an opportunity to do Starlink at Oval Beach last year? Or Frontier. And I do believe that, this is probably part of the problem is, unfortunately, for, whatever reason, SHPO and other interests made it difficult for AT&T to get approval for the project, and the technology moved on. And I think we'll continue to see that. And I don't think we can ever really kind of predict the marketplace. So I think, at a minimum, yeah, sure, have Jill come in, but I would just keep letting things like Frontier happen. I would continue to encourage and flag the site for others that are interested in it. But I wouldn't kind of just, cut bait on this one. I'd keep working it.
So back to the question of whether to spend focused time on a technology plan. So I kind of heard what Ryan recapped. I did not hear a consensus from council that we pick that up as a priority when we move at the strategic planning. Did I misread that? Or is there anyone in addition to Russ who thinks that we should move that to the top of the list, Chris?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think maybe the reason it didn't come up as priority is because at that point, we didn't know about AT&T. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
We're assuming we're still moving forward on to AT&T.
Right.
I don't, I'm not saying that we need to put it on a priority list, but I don't want it to fall away. It might be that we would have the small telecoms, let them know that we're looking at something like that. If AT&T was willing to pay us $30,000, maybe somebody else would be able to pay us something more. I'm not sure what the next step would actually be because Frontier is going full force. Right. Starlink is out there. I just don't want it to just fall away.
I think hearing from Jill might be a good first step. And, if there's momentum behind digging into a plan, we can.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern is, I think we as a council need to identify the possibility that if we can't find, a way to bring that tower into productive use, all the maintenance expense of that asset, that historic asset, is going to fall upon the city. And I'm just extremely concerned about the ability to get that 1950s vintage radome and the structure that supports it, maintained to last another, 75 years.
Right.
So I think I'm looking at the DPW director and he's nodding. I think he's mindful of what a logistical challenge that location is. And, I was really keen to have an expert, corporate kind of partner that had some skin in the game on that site, because it is going to be a very difficult site to maintain, but it's very important to the community. It's absolutely iconic, and now it's a historic place. So the other piece we may want to look at is what grants are available for historic preservation. That we may also want to be starting to like move that up and have a plan on the shelf next time there's a round of historic preservation grants, either at the federal or state level, to make sure that, and we've got a lot of this material already, we did this with the Mount Baldhead, working group. But I do think we need to be ready to find a funding stream if we don't have if we can't make it a revenue generator for us.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I just didn't anticipate going into this detailed of a conversation, but I appreciate the comments that have been made. I do want to make sure that it's understood what I said. I didn't say that we shouldn't be talking to AT&T, or we shouldn't be talking with other providers. What we should be doing is leading the discussion and saying, here's what the community has told us they need: more dependable Wi-Fi, better cell coverage, fiber optic, which is part of your Wi-Fi solution. The school, I talked with Mark Neidlinger a couple weeks ago, and their fiber optic was run to their school by the Ottawa Area Intermediate School District for their purposes. And the city of Holland is contracting with the city of Hudsonville to provide fiber optic service. They've got all the infrastructure built. I'm saying this is the part of the strategy we should be talking about, is how can we maybe get this service here without having to rely on the private sector? Again, the city of Saugatuck doesn't have the millions of dollars or the tax base that the city of Holland did to develop their system, but they've already made the investment. So I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't want to talk with communities that are close to them, that already have lines here. That, again, this is all part of that strategic discussion that I'd like to see us have, because in that way, when an AT&T or Joe's whatever, no offense to Joe, but anybody approaches us, we can pull our strategy out and say, yeah, that actually helps us meet one of our goals. What are our goals? What do we need to do? That's where I'm driving this, is not saying don't talk to these folks, don't tell AT&T, don't come see us for a couple of years, but have a plan in place in terms of what we've identified the community wants us to bring to town, and whether we can afford to do it, and how we can do it, and who can we partner with.
That's how I understood it. I didn't understand it as being a priority other than an awareness of something that we need to continue with. I didn't take it that we should stop any kind of talks with AT&T or anything else. I understood that, Russ.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right. Okay. Anything else for the city manager? Okay. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Public report?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
The millage that we're talking about on there, that's one that we're just re-upping it, right? It's not a new millage, it's just we're extending it. It expired, and the millage is going to be on the May, whatever it is, May 3rd or 4th election, is just a re-upping of one that expired. Okay.
Thank you, Sarah. Planning and zoning, any questions on that? Chris?
Madam Mayor, I have a couple. On page 29 on mine, I'm not sure what's the news. The person that they were, I gotta get through my papers here. Under closed casework, 955 Holland and 580 Mason, the application was submitted untimely, the license expired. Would either of those two fall into the group that we're going to pass the ordinance now on that would catch them up?
Yes, 955 Holland does. What was the other one?
Right below that 580 Mason.
Theirs was submitted after that 30 days, so they would not qualify for it, but the 955 Holland would.
Okay, and then are any of these reports that you have, does Grandius do a report for us? Is it folded into this? Do they give you?
It's folded into it,
It's
so
folded in.
generally if there's any short-term rental complaints or enforcement action on that, a lot of that is going to come from Granicus. And I'll continue to highlight that throughout. There wasn't much that came through Granicus itself this time, or this month, I should say, but typically we'll filter through that to find enforcement cases, but they don't give us a separate report from
Okay.
their system.
I'd kind of like to see if there's some way to find a separate report with what we're paying them
Yeah,
to see what they're doing.
that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thanks, Grayson.
Yeah.
Anything else on?
Yeah, just to clarify, what kind of like additional reporting would
Just
you?
what are
looking
they
for?
finding? Have they gotten any complaints? Are people calling into them? Have they gotten complaints? Have they
Mhm.
had to do something? The reports here are great, but what are they doing too? I mean, if it's just a little X by this came from Granius or whatever.
Yep, that's what I think Grayson's indicating. So he's got a notation at the top there where like in the, if there's something that was specifically that came in through the hotline in the future, he's going to highlight that in blue to show you that, hey, they called, this is where it came from. So we'll definitely make sure that that's noted. But in fact, two of the enforcement cases I think on here, I think were flagged through, Granica sends us a report, hey, we have some properties that are showing as non-compliant, and that allows him to then kind of go in and check on, what's going on. Is it a, scenario that we're already aware of or something along those lines?
Perfect. And then the other one, and I missed this before, 534 Joseph and 719 Pleasant, advertisement of short-term rental without an active license. How did we find that out?
Through Granicus. So Granicus flagged them as advertising. They checked our current list of licenses. They don't have current licenses. And so that's how he was able to, yep.
I think if there's a way to show that they did it with what we're paying them and this is what their product is, I think that's great. Thank you.
Russ?
Yeah, I completely agree with Councilmember Peterson. As a contracted service, we should be receiving a regular report from them on their paper telling us exactly what they're doing. And I think we're paying them about 19 grand a year, and that's all paid for through the fees that short-term rental owners pay. But I think that would be something as opposed to having our planning person do it. Granica should be providing a report on whether it's annual basis or semi-annual.
They do.
basis.
They provide monthly reports. We have
Great.
numerous reports that we can run from there, but it takes, so they're flagging something as a potential issue, but it's up to us to, I mean, it's used as a data gathering tool, and it's up to us as the code enforcement to then check the evidence that it's produced to say, all right, is this actually a violation or not? Is there something else going on here that we're not aware of? Is it a property that actually is a dwelling? Those sorts of things. So Granicus was not set up to like solely handle the code enforcement. It was there to be an extra tool.
No, right.
to- Yeah.
I know that. I
Right.
just wonder how many they're finding and
Yep.
regardless of how they turn out. I'm not so concerned about that. I'm more concerned about what are they finding? How many calls are they getting?
Yep.
That type of thing.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we've talked, I know we just reported last month on kind of like total annual statistics, but we've
Mhm.
talked about maybe providing some quarterly data and that sort of thing too.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else on planning and zoning? All right, DPW? Police?
Take this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Deputy Markovitz, and the new contract deputy for our company, I guess, paperwork for Deputy Hoover. I've been in the area for a couple of months now and just happy to be here.
Great.
Thank you.
Your last name again?
It's Deputy Markovitz.
Markovitz. Okay, thank you.
Glad you're here. Thank you.
Engineering report, any questions on that? Okay, then that's gonna take us to 10B. Can we start with the wildlife, just so I don't forget it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, the city manager over in the city village of Douglas wanted to reconvene members of the wildlife committee, and I was just going to look for the email that she sent around last week. I believe it's just as a kind of check-in to see what everybody's kind of ended up with in terms of ordinances and the like. I'm not contemplating it being any type of deliberative of additional policy recommendations or anything of that nature. I think it's just a follow-up to see where everyone is. But we did sunset that committee, so I did want to bring it up to the council to see if they would like me, as the person that was on the committee, to go and attend that meeting. I believe they're targeting March 4th to try to do something if they can get a quorum. Any objections?
None for me, anyone else?
Okay,
Be helpful to find out
All
what they're
right.
doing.
I'll make an effort to attend.
Great,
Thank you.
thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I have a question. Thank you. Are they moving forward with the call that they wanted to have?
My understanding is Douglas is moving forward
With having,
with a call. That's my understanding. Have you heard different, Ryan?
Should they or not?
I've heard they are.
I have not heard that. so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll find out. I'll find out
Be great to
next
know.
month. Yeah, I'll find out. I'll get a lay of the land next month.
Great, thanks. Okay, Dan, you're up for the fire district board.
Thank you, Dan Fox. Council Representative to the Fire District, Township Fire District. Stay on that first one for
Oh,
just a sec. We're just there, thanks. We covered this last time around. I'm gonna come back to it tonight, the accident that found that truck on taking the express route from Interstate 196 down to Old Allegan Road. And by the way, maybe I said it before, but if you haven't, take Old Allegan Road east and look at that east side bridge. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just, I mean, I won't say anymore. It's unbelievable. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover tonight. This was shorter until a few days ago when the January data came in, so that lengthened a little bit what I would otherwise have had. Just a quick update on Force 15 Wiley, which is the second fire station. We had a meeting with Douglas and their real estate guy and a couple other people to finalize the purchase agreement. That is the purchase of that portion of the existing building and the open space to the south of that building, which is where the apparatus garage for the fire district would be constructed. And that all went as smoothly as could be. So we are, it is not yet signed because it had to go back for a couple of attorney tweaks, I think, on both sides, but it's very close to being signed. And so there's not an exchange of money at that point, but yet to come. Okay. January stuff, 2026 data. Next one, Sarah. You can read these along with me if you want. Call volume was down a little bit from prior year.
Oh,
39 emergency calls. Those emergent is lights and siren. Response times lower. Fastest, as it says, in the last 3 years, although as we've seen those, they move up and down, and it's not totally controllable by the fire district. Depends on where the calls come from. Life ambulance, you see their numbers as well. Overlapping incidents, which strain the fire district. That means 2 incidents, same time, crews going in separate directions. Next one, Sarah, please. Medical, again, 58, 56, I'm sorry, my eyes aren't that good. The details there, added situations, false alarms, public service calls, cancel calls, motor vehicle incidents, again, partly related to that first number, were down, which is surprising, although there have been some notable ones. Next one, Sarah. The incidents by location, pretty much standard. Saugatuck actually a little lower on a percentage basis than usual, than we've seen before.
Sorry.
That's all right. Oops, oh, there we go. Busiest times, Friday. So forth, patient care, EMS trends. Again, you see the list of problems. And then the last one that I've included here is the only one non-motor vehicle alcohol incident, which is a dramatic reduction. So who knows what caused that, but God bless. This last one is, I thought you might find interesting. Sorry, it's the next one, Sarah.
I'm sorry. Then the next
There
one.
you go.
There we
That's
go.
one. It's 3 years of call data on a month-to-month basis. And you can see how it's largely consistent 1 year to the next. Spikes in January over the years. The obvious spike that begins at the very earliest part of summer and then goes all the way up to the high number there in August, drops dramatically down, and then for reasons that I'd only speculate on the little bump that happens in October, has to, in my mind, simply has to relate to there are more people here in October, bouncing after the summer. They come back up for fall leaves or who knows, what, but it's interesting that it does follow a very distinct pattern over 3 years. Next one. This, again, it's a picture from that same incident, but I wanted to give you a little broader feel for cost recovery activities and achievements. And in this case, cost recovery in general is about the taxpayers winning, but in this particular case, it's a big win. That's almost $31,000 paid back to the fire district from the SAIA Transportation Company in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah, question. So that's great. Were there other checks cut for the other departments that
I have no
responded?
idea,
You
and I
don't know.
Really care.
Okay. Now I'm just curious as to what say I had to maybe pay out in total for the other.
I expect, I can't imagine the state of Michigan with what they've had to do out there is not going to hit them up pretty good. The trucking company is self-insured. That came right out of their pocket.
Good.
Hopefully, over the years, they've been putting money aside.
And that goes right back into your coffers, right? That's
Goes
it.
right back
yeah.
into our revenue, yeah.
How does that compare to what the cost actually was? Did you profit from this or? Which would be great. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
The cost it's not unlike the fees you guys charge for the city. They have to be based on demonstrative costs. So there's a cost for every individual involved. They're all recorded for every vehicle involved. And there are different numbers for each vehicle, some more expensive than others and on and on and on. But there's no Kentucky windage. You've got to be able to demonstrate it. Maybe easier in this case, the insurance companies, they're going to try and beat you up on that. So, but I saw that check. At first I thought, oh, good, we got $3,000. Oh my God, it's $30,000.
Right. That doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, seriously. The next one,
Dan?
please, Sarah.
Can I ask a question real quick? How much of that's going to Cal Lake, by the way? For all, how much of that is going to Kalamazoo Lake Sewer Water Authority for the
None.
extra water, for the delay in people getting to work, was quite an impact, so.
This relates to the Saugatuck Township Fire District's costs. If Cal Lake has costs, perhaps they should submit them as well to
We'll
the,
send you a bill.
huh?
We'll send you a bill.
Not us.
Not, yeah.
Yes, send
I
it to
know,
the
it's-
trucker.
You said you got the revenue for it.
We know.
I'm pulling your leg, Dan. I
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were serious.
I would think, Allegan County is probably,
was hoping Scott would jump in and back me up, but he's.
you have to do it,
Awful
you have to
quiet.
do it by unit of, responsible unit. Here we are, this is for the full year of 2025. And I mean, again, it's 2025 and you'll see in a minute, 2024. Both of those years were at the very highest level of actual cost recovery. So, but you can see incidents listed down the left and dates and so on and so forth, the amount requested based on our costs and the amount we collected, the fire district collected. And then the percentage is a percentage of billed to received, and 65% in our experience is excellent. Because at some point, you almost hate to say this in a public meeting where it's recorded, but the reality is if you get a nasty insurance company or a skin flint, some of these are local individuals. These aren't all insurance companies. They just are going to stiff you and force you to go to litigation. There's a huge cost, as you all know, there's a cost to litigation. So some of those you just fold your tent and say, oh, we try and do better next time, whatever. So, but 2/3, pretty good. Here's the next one is the 11-year run from 2014 up to 2025. And as you can see in 2026, we've already got a $10,000 request booked for the accident that had the semi that almost went into the river,
All right.
the northbound side. Literally bumpers this far from water when they got it. The trailer was full of pellets, plastic pellets, which fortunately, I guess they're not like a hazard, like a biohazard or But when the wrecking company pulled the trailer out, those pellets are unloaded from the bottoms of those trailers, like grain or whatever. And they dragged it across and popped all three valves. And so a bunch of pellets came out. I think they managed to stop it before the whole thing unloaded out there. But anyway, that's $10,000 on that one. So
Just a general question about cost recovery. So if my home starts on fire and I have to call the fire department to
No,
come in
you
and
don't-
put,
you- no.
there's no, okay. Because I want to make sure that there's some clarity here that these are specific situations where cost recovery is.
there are instances where negligent, I mean, if you have a fire in your backyard and you build it that close to the wall, chances are you're gonna get a cost recovery. You violated ordinances, city ordinances, you violated good sense. You know, so it's not, it's
So people should not dial 911 if they have an emergency, thinking they might have a
you
bill.
always dial 911 because they're the guys who are gonna put the fire out, you know, nobody else is gonna do it for you.
Wait until you have evidence points.
And again, you see there across the total collection, that's over those, whatever it is, 11 years, 65%, pretty
Great.
impressive. Next one, please, Sarah. And this one, Lake Michigan Ice Safety, look at the picture in the upper left, because you can just barely see them. They're circled in yellow. That was this weekend.
That's Oval Beach?
Chief Janik took it. That's Oval Beach.
Hmm.
The second picture to the lower right is the same couple continuing on their way out to do God knows what. But the reality is, I mean, we all know it, there is no safe, particularly on the lake ice, there's no safety out there at all. That water, that's moving water, when there are waves, as the chief has explained to me, that wave action can cause some places underneath the ice to have ice this thick and some to have ice this thick. And if you fall in, you can see how far those people are. Your head's going to be below the ice. Your ability to scream is only going to go on for a few minutes and you're not going to be heard. There's nobody out, largely, there's nobody out there. Greg called the sheriff when he was out there and they didn't have a car available or whatever. So literally, you are truly taking your life in your hands to go out on that ice.
We didn't have a car available?
Beg your pardon?
There wasn't a car available?
But there wasn't one in the area or whatever that he was told.
Thank you.
You heard about that incident, I believe it was in South Haven about 2 weeks ago, and very lucky that
Yeah,
the
well,
person was able to get out.
You can, that's your cue. This is, thank you, Gregory.
Why are we not talking? Hold on here.
On the ice weekend, and why officials are asking you stay off it.
Miami is the Lake Michigan Ice Show at Oval Beach in Allegheny County, and Saugatuck Township Fire Chief Greg Janik says that if you want to come and see it, and you want to enjoy it, take a picture of it on your camera rather than venturing it.
It's unpredictable. Ice is completely unpredictable.
When it comes to Lake Michigan, the water can bring incredible views both in the summer and the winter. While both seasons can bring its own set of dangers, the lake is currently making one of its most dangerous, the ice shelf.
So what you think might be stable is, it's just a false sense of security. You don't know because it's moving, and when there's movement of water or movement of wind, sometimes you can't thicken. And it has the appearance of stability, however, it's not.
Greg Janik is the chief at Saugatuck Township Fire District. Their last ice shelf rescue happened in early 2025, but a few miles south in South Haven, rescuers on Sunday saved a person who had fallen through the ice about 100 yards from shore.
But on Lake Shore, they start, in Lake Michigan, they start at the shore and then they move out. And some of those ice shelves can be 40 feet high, just from the formation of the water freezing.
Janik says not only does venturing out on the ice endanger you, but emergency officials as well.
There's a lot of risk, just with the inherent nature of the ice moving. It's special equipment and special training. We have to be ice rescue certified to even go in the water.
And Chief Janik says another difficulty for rescues out here is the cell reception. Right now, I only have one bar, so if I get a call for help, it could be difficult to do so. For now, Allegheny County, I might show 13 on your side.
That, picture with the people at the edge of the ice that looked to be an adult with two kids.
With the hole underneath them?
Mhm.
Yeah, did you see how thin that was, right where the kids were?
And
Yeah.
if either of those kids had slipped and fallen in, they're falling this far before they hit water. You can't reach them. You're probably gonna jump in there. There's a real good chance you're both gonna die or somebody else is gonna come out and I mean, you're trying to claw onto ice with cold hands. I mean, it's beyond difficult. It's just scary. I mean, it's amazing that we don't lose more every year. So
Scott?
that's it. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Dan.
Any
Thanks.
questions or whatever?
Well, a question for both Ryan and Scott while he's here. Is our signage, you had a picture of one of the
Yeah,
signs
that's
on your
one of the
slide.
signs.
Is our signage adequate at Oval Beach? Or are we short on, oh, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I think, that freaks us all out, you know, when we see
Yeah.
that stuff out there. And so, some years ago, I had seen that image, in a magazine or in
Yeah.
some sort of an article. And so I was able to get, permission from the illustrator to use that image.
Excellent.
And so we had some signs custom made and, I want to say there's about 3 or 4 out there at the moment, all spaced out.
Okay,
Thanks, Scott.
thanks.
Scott. Gregory, Interurban Board. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
We are busy with that expansion of the building and excited to get that finished. We have been, of course, another increase of ridership again. It was, hold on just a second here. Give me just a quick second here. Ridership. Sorry about that. Did want to mention that I don't know why I can't find it right now. Our numbers, I have it ready. We are, okay, here we are. We were up again in December, our ridership up 587. We carried 4,385 riders in December. New Year's Eve, late night service was free between 6 and 1 a.m. And we had 400, more than 400 people there as well.
Great.
Again, I said the building expansion is going on. We also discussed and the board agreed to a 5-year millage renewal and a 0.50 mill increase we will need, that we will be needing for our growth and due to a few cutbacks that we're getting from state and federal. ITA has never asked for a millage increase in 45 years. In fact, the first 5 years, we fell from 1 million to 0.50 million because we were being responsible. We didn't need that much money. So we actually brought it down to 0.50, and that was in our first 5 years. So we've been operating at the same millage for 45 years, like I said. And so we will expect to be on the ballot in August in the first round there and of the primaries, and hopefully we get the support of the community and they see the need in transportation. Laketown Township, of course, I don't know if I think I talked about that at our last meeting. There was the board did not want to continue supporting the rides out to Laketown Township. However, we had a generous donation from our director who kept it going for the rest of the month. And then we have decided to increase fares and keep the rides going. Because they're outside of our district, we can change their fares. Saugatuck Township and Douglas are part of the mills, and so we have to stay with our fares as they are there. But Laketown Township has an increase in our fares, where students and kids are paying $2, regular rides are $5, and as well. And we're continuing with working with the Center for Aging the COA to continue with rides outside of our area as far as Grand Rapids and South Haven, taking people to doctors and working with the Allegan Board of Transportation as well. Because they can't, they're so big and they're so far away that we help them fill the gap of rides that they can't always get to. So we're continuing that service and that's going really well.
Gregory?
Our next meeting is February 17th, which is going to kind of clash, I think, with our parking meeting. So I'll probably go to a few minutes, I won't lead this one, our parking meeting, but I'll try to fit that in if I can. So
Great, thanks. Joe, Salt Lake Sewer and Water.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things worth mentioning. We did have another special meeting last Wednesday. Approved to go forward with finally with our Cal Lake administrator. Robert Miller will be starting with the authority on February 26th. So we're looking forward to having him come on board and hopefully have him here and meet all of you for one of the meetings. He's going to also, Russ, be at our meeting on Friday with the advisory committee. So looking forward to that. A little bit of not so good news is our operations manager, Kaz, has elected to retire. And so we're down yet another person on the operations side. It's kind of putting us on the fine edge right now in terms of manpower. So we're obviously going to look to, try and backfill some of these open positions we have as soon as we can, try and get Robert on just as soon as possible and get that going. The board will be meeting next week we did get what we believe is a final proposed budget for 2027 operating year. Really two parts of the budget, kind of your operating and income expenses, and then the balance sheet, which looks at our long-term liabilities and our capital reserves. So on the operating side, we're right now budgeting about 3.4 million in expenses, 3.7 on the revenue side. So slight surplus, all things considered. That's with the full load of employees that we don't really have on board yet. So there may be a little bit of buffer there. The authority right now, although hasn't voted on it yet, is looking at no commodity increase for the next budget year. And largely because there was a recent 20% hike in water rates and they wanted to stabilize things again before they got in to do another increase. Which brings me to kind of the more long-term outlook. We did a lot of good discussion and modeling around our capital improvement plan, which right now shows about a $50 million 20-year liability. So that's in present day dollars. And the good news is we're holding roughly about 9% of that liability currently in our fund balances. So, we're kind of we're actually ahead of the amortization curve. And on top of that, in our operating budget, we're actually going to be purchasing some capital equipment. So that's really not coming out of our fund balances, and it would be normally money that we'd be putting into the fund balances. So there's a little bit of a wash there, but, so if you kind of look at the budget, surplus, some of it will kick into our fund balance. Unfortunately, at 9%, then next year will drop down a little bit because we're not making the full contribution that we should be making this year. And we have inflation and everything on our capital improvement plan that'll kick in every year as well. So, we're sort of treading water a little bit. Good news is we're ahead of the curve. The bad news is that there's about a $2 to $2.5 million a year contribution that we need to be making into those fund balances if we believe our capital improvement plan is a good reflection in reality. So that means there will be more commodity rate increases coming, if not this year, then next year, right? Just to kind of hopefully keep us ahead of the curve. The other challenge we struggled with is just kind of getting under the covers of the CIP. There's some big ticket items in there that are right now showing a 20-year pay down schedule, like for example, rerouting the sewer main that runs under the river closer to Cal Lake. That's a 13.5, I think, $1 million project in today's dollars, right? That's a 50-year-old main running under the river. At least that's what I've been told. The engineers say it could go tomorrow or it could last 20 years. Who knows, right? But there's risk in the capital improvement plan of things that we just don't know, right? That can just throw everything up in the air. So, you know, it's a long way of saying, I think we took a good look into our future. We know we got to raise more money. And now we just need to make sure we get the discipline and the air cover from the municipalities, especially, you know, if we skip this year, next year will probably have to be a substantial increase to start ratcheting us up to getting into that 2 to 2.5 and growing, you know, $1 million accruals that we need to make. So.
Questions for Joe?
Just a statement. I had a couple of your board members on 92.7 The Van with me on Sunday,
Oh,
and
good.
off the air, they spoke good things of your new employees. So glad to hear
great.
that. Glad to hear.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having him on board. He's a good guy.
Yep,
Spent a lot of time. with him.
Yeah, his name again is
Robert Miller, Bob
Rob-
Miller. It's
Bob.
Miller.
Yeah,
You have to get him on your radio station.
yeah. I'll let him get a little bit.
Get on board first.
I'll wait till he gets a little bit more situated. Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Joe. I don't think Chris, Cal Lake Harbor Authority.
Yes, they're gonna, thank you, Mayor, follow the discussions on money. At our last meeting on December 9th, we did the discussion that we needed an economic impact study. And so we had Greg look into finding at least a proposal that we could work on, which he did. He got a draft of the economic impact study from Vetter Consulting Enterprises, and Ryan sent that out to you. And it's a wonderful proposal. And I don't think there was quite the amount of excitement with the rest of the board as there was with me. But pretty much what they agreed is we have to have the value of what a navigable harbor is to all of us, not just upstream, downstream businesses. People have boats, people don't have boats. We have to determine what the value is to the community if we're going to go out and ask for money, and we have to have money. We have to do continual dredging or it's going to fill in. And if RJ hadn't done that for the Kewautin, it would probably have filled in by now. We're looking at it definitely within the next 5 years of doing some type of dredging, because right now we're back in the situation that we were in 2016 with the low water.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the snow and the ice and not allowing that much evaporation out of the lake will help that, but we won't know that. So we're always going to need to find local funds. We don't have the option of a millage or that type of thing, but there are some grants available, certainly not enough to ever pay for dredging, but there are grants, there are fees, taxes, donations, other things that we need to look at. But the one thing we finally got everybody to move forward on was we would agree that the Vetter Consulting Enterprises, we didn't have to put that out for RFP because it was below the contractual step. And everybody would go back to their boards and see if it was okay to move forward with that. And once that was done, then everybody would convince their boards to move forward with task 1, which is a good step. My feeling was that we needed to do this in stages with the goal at the end that we would have funding for dredging within the next 5 years. We haven't quite got to that point yet. Right now, they're going to be talking to their boards. I told them it was already a priority of ours. We had to look at continual dredging to make sure that the navigable harbor stayed for us, because that's the value to our residents and our community and tourism. So at our next meeting on March 24th, we're going to look at that. Everybody has to have buyback in from their communities, come back and agree to fund we think it's going to be $30,000, $10,000 basically from each group. But we need to have some kind of discussion, maybe do a workshop first and then put it on the next council meeting so that we can appropriate the funds. I know there's a little bit left, you said, from the parking committee. Is there enough to cover that 10,000 if that's what it would be?
Well, yeah, for this fiscal year, I think, that the 3 communities are looking at with just task 1, and that's going to be right around $6,000. So I'm not sure that any other tasks would really hit this fiscal year. So the remainder, the other difference we could look at budgeting next fiscal year, and I think still be on track. So,
Yeah, I think if we can just keep it moving, and even if the water goes up a little bit, we have to maintain that navigable harbor. And going back, we'll get out the 2016 report that Greg Wycamp did back then, and we're right back where we were with looking at sediment traps and working upstream with the soil runoff. And those all came out in 2016 and nothing was ever done. And so here we find ourselves right back where we were with 10 years difference and nothing was done. So we have to get something on the books, some kind of proposal going forward, some way to find a funding mechanism that will allow that dredging to happen. So I think it's a good move on the part of the Harbor Authority to take this back. We have the proposal from the Vetter Consulting to do the economic impact study. And once they start and get that done, I think we're gonna all be surprised at how much we rely on that harbor.
Question. Thanks for that, Chris. And I'm sure you've already probably mentioned this to the authority. It'd make a great deal of sense for Vetter to connect with members of the sport fishing community here in Saugatuck. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Holly Engel is involved in one of the sport fishing associations. Every time she's presented to us, she's provided a very detailed and thoughtful economic analysis of what sport fishing brings to the Saugatuck area. So that would probably be an easy piece that Vetter could rely on as part of their report in terms of the economic impact of that particular industry, the sport fishing.
Absolutely. And I think another one that we just kind of dropped by the wayside is the marinas.
Correct.
The marinas have a tremendous horse in this race.
Yes.
And we have not typically gone to them for anything.
Mhm.
When RJ was there, he did an amazing job.
Yep.
Now it's, again, 2016 to where we are right now, nothing has changed except the water went up. And now it's going down. So we have to do something. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. We are on ZBA. I don't think there's been a ZBA meeting.
Okay, right.
Historic districts, Scott.
Last week's meeting was canceled. The commission will meet on March 5th.
Okay, thanks. Russ, planning.
Planning next meeting is scheduled next Thursday, the 19th at 6:30 PM here at City Hall.
Lauren is not here for PPW, but I think their meeting
Was canceled.
was canceled, so. So we do have, no, tri-community, non-motorized, anything?
No
on
report,
that?
no report, Mayor.
Water System Operations Contract Advisory Committee meets Friday?
This Friday, Friday the 13th. Wish us luck.
Yeah, may the force be with you. And Gregory, parking improvements.
Well, you see in the manager's report here, kind of made it easy for me. The parking survey is live and you can go to our website, you can go to our Facebook page to get that link. It's also been covered in the Commercial Record, the Holland Sentinel. Have we had those printables yet, or are we going forward with the printables? I've been asked for
I have
for
some
those.
upstairs.
Oh, you do? Okay, so I'll grab a handful of those. I've been asked for those for some of our business owners so that they can have them. Our organization, Walker and Company, provided us with the graphics with the QR code so people can go right to the survey and take it. Over 350 responses so far. I was happy to see that's a lot. The first 24 hours we had it was 150 or
About 200.
200 in the first 24 hours that we had it out. So we really appreciate that. The more participation we get, the more understanding we have with everybody's experience and with parking and what people are expecting, what they're looking for, because that's what we want to hear. That's going to help us determine any kind of suggestions that we bring to City Council. We did have a change of leadership from Walker and Associates. Eric Hagert took a new position somewhere and stepped down, but we got a better person. John Dorset, who I was really impressed with when he came to our first meeting. He really took the time to walk around town and check out he's actually the vice president of Walker's Planning, Operation and Technology practice. So he's the big wig. So we kind of got him on our side. So I'm excited to sit down with him at our next meeting, which will be February 17th. At what time again? 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
Yep, 3 o'clock. And so I encourage anybody and anybody listening or anybody out there, now's the time to sit down and bring your suggestions and make your comments because we're more likely to help to incorporate those ideas and those comments into some of the suggestions that we'll bring to council. You know, I'd hate to see us do all this work, you know, and then all of a sudden hear from, you know, a few people or wait until the last minute for any kind of new ideas or changes, because that's what we're here for. We're here to listen to everybody and everybody's ideas. That's what we're working with. We don't, you know, we don't have any preconceived ideas or solutions or, you know, I get asked that from people from the street all the time. What do you think you're going to bring to council? I don't know yet. We've only had 2 meetings and we haven't even done the parking, the behavioral study, which we'll see during the summer. So, but again, I can't stress this enough. I've been telling everybody in town, it amazes me that within the city, that we have shy of almost 2,000 parking places here within the city when you consider over 15,600 off-street parking and 303 city-owned parking. And I think we're finding a few more here and there in other spots, like, you know, we'd mentioned the funeral home and other places that are viable for parking. So it makes me wonder, you know, you know, as in the early part of the stages, you know, do we need more parking or do we need to understand the behavior of parking and because that's a lot of parking here in town. And you know, imagine if we had 4,000 parking places and everybody filled that, instead of waiting an hour and a half to get into fills, you'd be waiting 3 hours, you know, right? So it's interesting as we go along. Again, I encourage everybody to come to our next meeting, February 17th. That's on a Tuesday at 3 p.m.
Thank you, Gregory.
Thank you.
Takes us to approval of accounts payable. Can I get a motion?
Mayor, motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $531,676.94.
Any questions?
No question, just a comment that 70% of that is pass-through costs to our taxing authorities that we collect money for.
Great, thanks. Anything else? Okay, it's a roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, no public hearings or unfinished business, so we go to new business, starting on page 45 of the Maple Street and other utility improvements. Scott?
3 hours for fills. That really puts it all in perspective for me. Thank you for that, Greg. This is an exciting one. This is an opportunity, I think, for us to take a really sizable bite out of the CIP strategic goals, as well as the master survey that we have in relation to Maple Street. This project initially started off as Maple Street, and we even had to change the title of it to the 2026 Street and Utility Improvements Plan, because there's a lot of needs out there, and so they're very well thought out, in my opinion. And this reflects that tonight. So, you know, formally we went through and worked through the planning and design phase of the project. We hosted public workshops, did a number of site walkthroughs on Maple Street, and then a formal design review session that we held with some stakeholders. So this project was put out to bid, and the bid closing was on January 27th, in which we got 3 bids, one being Milbacher and Sons in the amount of $5,365,953.50. And so that was the highest. That was the first one that we opened, ironically, that day. So, and second, it was Redline Excavating in the amount of $4,775,623. And then our best looking number was from Skipper's Excavating at $4,334,036.50. So that's a awfully large price tag, even in relation to some of the projects that we undertake here, but that's not just Maple Street. That's a variety of our needs out there. So in relation to just Maple Street, it's the water main replacement, water service extensions and replacements, tackling those lead service lines that were found through the DSMI to contain lead or galvanized piping. Sanitary sewer, I think it was just pretty much limited to a little bit of lining. Repairs, adjustments and extensions, stormwater detention at Mason Street and Maple Street. Road rehabilitation, culvert repairs, and of course, the 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk that we're putting in. In addition to Maple Street, we also have the DPW driveway resurfacing, Mary Street improvements, that'll be a road resurfacing. And then there's a sunken catch basin on the northwest corner of Butler and Mary. There's a dip in the road right there, kind of by the Wickwood Inn. That catch basin will get brought up. As one, in addition to that, there's some gate valves that we had identified through some water leaks in the past. If we added some gate valves down Water Street, in the event that there is a water main issue, we can isolate that a little bit better and ultimately affect less properties moving forward. So, and then also the seawall and concrete improvements at Coughlin Park, Wicks Park, Spear Street, the Spear Street Boat Launch, and Francis Street. We took a hit on some of those areas, especially during the high water level areas. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Two things. One is on the Mary Street improvements. Thank you. That has been a dangerous spot for a number of years. If you travel further down the sidewalk, just north of or south of Wickwood, water is collected in that area of the sidewalk for years. If you know where I'm talking about.
South of the Wickwood on.
Well, the south sidewalk to Wickwood, just past the area that's gonna be improved on Mary Street. That area of the sidewalk is there's always water there if it rains. So I'm just wondering if that's been thought to be included in this, to take a look at that. I don't know if it's related or not, but that has been a problem area for a number of years, so.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we have to draw some parameters because we could just keep going. So
Sure.
we've already extended this project quite a bit just doing this, but I think that leans nicely into like our capital improvements discussion that'll be coming up next week. I have some ideas on things that we should do in terms of all of our sidewalk maintenance throughout the city. So.
Okay, thank you. And the fourth bullet point, the seawall concrete improvements, all of those are city except for Francis Street End, which is the street end, which is leased from the city. So will that be the sole financial responsibility of the city for that work? Or will that be a shared cost with the street end lease?
At this point, it's the city cost. So
Okay.
there's some storm sewer questions that we have that we're not going to be able to answer until we actually dig it up. Some years ago, there was a sinkhole kind of just east of that seawall at that location. So a little exploration at that point, and then also right at the seawall, there's a big gap where there's some settling in that area. But yeah, that's city cost.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to award the 2026 street and utility project in the amount of $4,334,036.50 to Shippers Excavating to approve the proposal submitted by Fleece and Vanderbrink Engineering for construction engineering services 2026 street and utility improvements in the amount of $318,700.
I'll second.
Any further questions, discussion, Chris?
A quick question, and it's probably I missed it. Why were several of the things marked with yellow highlight?
Which document are you looking at?
I'm on page 56.
It is at the top of the first one where it appears, I think it says what that is.
The bid tabs.
I can help you on that one, Scott. Those are math corrections, basically. In a bid form with hundreds of pay items, inevitably there's some math errors, so that's where we corrected them.
Well, that's pretty good. There are only two, I think.
It's still an A paper, but yep, not 100%.
Anything else?
Madam Mayor, the only thing I would add is, I think it's important just to acknowledge the fact that this, Saugatuck Township has been a very collaborative partner in this process. Intergovernmental agreements are always a bit of a thorny issue, and I just applaud the superintendent as well as our engineer, as well as the city manager, on working with our township friends, and just appreciate their willingness to work with us on this. This can be an improvement for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I have I think we came to a good place. The beginning discussion and having some requirement actually that we chip in more than what we had originally agreed to from them felt unneighborly, but I appreciate your kind words, Russ. Anything else before we vote? All right, it's a roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
And Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, that takes us to Park Street Planning and Conceptual Design, which is on page 64.
Mayor, I'll make the motion. Motion to approve the engineering and landscape architecture services proposal from Fleece and Vanderbrink for Park Street planning and conceptual design in an amount not to exceed $40,000 and to approve the Michigan Coastal Management Program grant agreement.
Second.
Any questions or comments before we vote?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, just a question for Mr. Moxie. And thank you for the link that was in the report that brought us back to that study from 2020, as well as a reference back to, was it 2005, I think was the other study. And as I've talked with, since this came up last Wednesday, I've had 2 conversations with people on Park Street have been asking questions about this. So there's a lot of interest, and as I said at the workshop, I think this is an opportunity for us to make sure we get out and knock on doors and talk to people that are over there, because there's a lot of great ideas. But the one thing that has come up by both of these phone calls is, and I think John speaks to it in here, is, just help me understand what we're additionally going to get from this next study that is in addition to what we've already received through the other 2 that were referenced in the report. So.
Yeah, a lot of our work is going to be focused, the survey work that was done in 2020 was from Campbell Road to Perryman was kind of our study area. This is going to, first and foremost, extend that study area all the way through Mount Baldhead Park. So kind of connect the 2 sections that we've looked at in recent years. That's thing 1. Thing 2 is things that have come up, in the meantime, incorporating things like the water services on Park Street that we either know about or suspect are going to need to be replaced as part of some kind of a project on Park Street. Updating the cost estimates, obviously 5 years of inflation have been brutal. So we're going to put a new set of eyes on those. And then, just listening to the public and what do people want. We came up with 3 options during that 2020 study, kind of the separate sidewalk, the widened shoulder, and some kind of a hybrid approach. So we want to really hear from the public and folks on Park Street. What do you want? Do you want something that's very flexible? Do you want something that's kind of a more rigid, like a sidewalk that we just work through the challenges as they come? So that's what we're looking to get. And I really liked the idea that came up last week of holding that workshop at the pavilion at Mount Baldhead. I think that's a fantastic idea. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and building on that, just for a quick second, for what it's worth, last week, many of you may know Ruth Johnson. She had used to serve on the Parks and Public Works Committee. She was actually the study group lead on Park Street. And so I saw her on Park Street last week walking her dog and stopped and chatted with her for a second and asked, assuming that the design gets approved or a proposal gets approved at least, then that there's groups of people that have already done a lot of work on this and they'd be eager to share information with us.
Yeah, this is going to give people like some more visuals too, because renderings is a part of this as well. So, and really some more kind of colorized plans. You saw the study was kind of very high level with some, markings, but this is going to get to a lot more detail and a lot more specific and a lot more, hey, you're going to be impacted if we do this one. And do you understand that kind of a conversation?
That Holiday Hill corridor too is going to be a tricky one. So this is going to at least start to generate some solutions on that.
Great. Anything else? Okay, it's a roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
And Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, 14C Village Square Park proposals on page 90. You want to tee this up, Ryan?
Yeah, we presented this at your workshop and discussed that our engineers have a proposal before you to provide design and construction engineering services to resurface and kind of expand the basketball court, do something different with the tennis court area, whether it's enlarging the area or some other configuration, some rain gardens, drinking fountain at the bathrooms there. Really kind of just a full refresh of that area. $100,000 commitment from a donor. We applied for a grant, we're successful with that, so we have $150,000 from the DNR, and then we've committed to at least $10,000 in matching funds for about a $260,000 project. So based on some of the feedback we had received, the concept that you had seen last time when we applied for the grant was updated a bit, and so we talked through that with you at your workshop. Received kind of varying feedback from the council, and so the engineering team kind of put together some additional concepts based on what they were hearing from you as far as different court configurations, additional courts. There was a suggestion of maybe bringing back some shuffleboard. So those are in your meeting packet. We'd like some feedback on that tonight. So based on the feedback that I received, we really would like the council to consider approving at least the engineering proposal. So John's team can at least get the topographic survey work done, and then they can, I think it sounds like we didn't hear a lot of comments on the basketball court area last time. So assuming we're good there, they can at least start that design engineering on that end of things. And then the area of the tennis courts, what you want to see with that particular area would be something that we'll take your feedback here tonight. My suggestion is that we then return to the Parks and Public Works Committee, kind of bring your comments, thoughts to them for another discussion. They've had this before them, I think at least a couple times, and then bring a recommendation back to you at your workshop in March, and then hopefully get some decision at your first regular meeting in March on which direction you want to go with that particular area. So that's what we're essentially asking of you this evening. If there's consensus on a concept, I mean, you could also tell us, hey, this is the one, move forward as well. But if you want a bit more time as far as vetting that tennis court area, we're happy to do it.
Mayor, may I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Are we under any deadline to capture these funds, either the private donation or the state grant? Are we under any kind of time crunch on this?
So the grants, we don't have the grant agreement yet, but we can start incurring expenses this
Okay.
year. The donor, hasn't given us a deadline to make a particular decision. I explained to the donor that, or the donor's representative, that I'd be before you, wanted your feedback on, where we're at. I think assuming that things are continuing to progress, and particularly if you're good with the basketball court area, I don't see them having any concerns with waiting for a final decision until next month.
Yeah. Can I just build on? Thanks, council member. I would advocate that we sort of flip this and put this in front of the Parks and Public Works Committee for a closer view and a closer recommendation. And I'll explain why. As I said at our workshop, initially I was saying, pickleball courts are much smaller than tennis courts, and you could fit 2 in versus the 1 tennis court. But the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know about these 2 racket sports. I thought pickleball was a slam dunk, but then I read the average noise level from pickleball is 70 decibels versus 40 for tennis, which is significantly higher if you understand how the decibel scale works. Also, I just drove by the site this evening before our meeting, and I found Councilmember Gardner's comment compelling that this may be a less is more situation for this park. As much as I would like to, maximize the utility and the enjoyment of visitors and residents, I am concerned that I don't have the skill set to really do a park for recreation the way it needs to be done to avoid unintended consequences around noise, around runoff issues, all these things. If I had to choose today, I think I've gotten back to the place where it would be almost a like for like replacement of, just modernizing what we have now with new, the exact thing. Although I do like, again, I like Councilmember Gardner's comment on the shuffleboard court, which I think is relatively small and I think not as problematic as some of these other renderings with multiple courts with multiple purposes. But my suggestion would be, if we have the time, would be to basically what we have before us now is get this in front of Parks and Public Works again and have them try to fine tune it, because I keep learning things that make me think that we may be facing unintended consequences. If, I was advocating for pickleball on Wednesday, but now I'm I'm questioning that position because I had no idea it was so much noisier.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I started, what, you go down the Google, rabbit hole, and suddenly you find all these towns that are facing lawsuits from residents because pickleball is such a higher frequency and noisier sport than tennis, which I never thought of that.
And I'm there several days a week, or well, almost all week
Yeah.
long sometimes, and I do see people use that as a tennis court. I know pickleball is very popular, but it's still used by families as a tennis court. In fact, In the Elements offers free paddles and tennis rackets, and I see people and families use that for both things. So
Yeah, my gut's gone back to, like for like, you replace what you had with basically the same. And I think Councilmember Gardner pointed out that there was a shuffleboard court there before.
Two of them.
were there?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So-
But I would love to gut check that with some more people that actually, we put on this Parks and Public Works Committee because they really think about how people use parks. And, the playground was not easy. I mean, we had to make adjustments and we had conflict over the playground, and that's something I think we should endeavor to avoid. And that's why I feel that where this is now, I would really like to see it go to Parks and Public Works and get a reaction from them. I mean, I've my thinking has changed just on what I've learned by wrestling with this, wanting to provide as many amenities to people and visitors as possible, but being realistic on, some of the unintended consequences.
Okay, a question and then other
Yeah.
people's. So in addition to responding to what Scott has said, just weighing in on Ryan's comment earlier that maybe we approve going at it, because it doesn't seem like the basketball court has been, that everybody seemed on board with that, but just getting a sense of if we can get them started on some of the pre-work of that.
Mhm.
So Chris, you had something?
No, I agree with that. And I've obviously been vocal about this before. I have a real concern with giving this type of, importance to a committee. To me, it should always be, it comes from the city council. And so to me, it should be us that are doing the discussions and we bring people in to tell us about that. It's just my particular way of looking at how the division of work goes. I think that the idea of the shuffleboard is just definitely wonderful. The closest one I could come to is number 5, because that's the easiest way to make everybody happy. You got a tennis
Right.
court, you got a pickleball court. Now, the noise issue, as Gregory has said, you could have that if they just use the tennis court and then can cut it down with the adjustable net to do the other. Again, I'm not going to obviously fight about it going back to Park and Public Works
Mhm.
group, but it ultimately comes down to our decision.
No, I agree with that, council member. I do. The buck stops with this council. 100% agree with you on that. I just would like more voices. I would like more data because I keep getting new data points that change my thinking. This noise issue that is now becoming actually an issue in a number of municipalities around pickleball was news to me.
Uh-huh.
I only discovered that preparing for this meeting. So, I mean, whereas, right now you're based on, the information you have, you want to maximize the space. To me, the most conservative and the safest approach is to simply go like for like, because then you're only giving the community what we had before, which is, I think, the first rendering, basically. So we're in different places. And so I could be persuaded, though, if I heard from, some other people that have studied this stuff. I mean, we don't have Glenna on the Parks Committee anymore, but she was an expert in child exercise. And so she really was able to really make a bespoke playground that really, I think, has stood the test of the few years it's been there. I think it's proven to be excellent in many ways. So I guess I'm being cautious. If the manager told me that the grant funding or the donation was going to go away, I'd be prepared to vote today on it.
Right.
But I would probably vote for the most conservative approach, which would be like for like.
It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, that if the preference from staff would be if they can kind of get going on the basketball court.
We'd still have
part,
more time.
and then I think, and to your point with Chris, it's more, I think we would send, if we decided to send it back to PPW, it would be the concerns that we're having are noise, can one court serve both sports? Runoff
Concentration,
issues.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Right.
obviously it would come back.
Well,
Yeah.
Mayor, just to respond to that, yeah, the basketball court is basically like for like.
Right.
So yeah, I have no problem with that. My concern is that area closer to the parking, that's complicated. And we know people play pickleball there, and we see it, we see
Right.
people play pickleball there and you can't stop it. But do we want to double the amount of pickleball there if that becomes an issue for folks that are, apparently, you can hear the sound of pickleball being played for well over 500 feet away or something. I mean, these are all things I've just learned getting ready for this meeting tonight that I didn't know on Wednesday during our
Right.
workshop. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm okay voting yes for this tonight to get the basketball court going and get staff going. But I really do think we should be extremely thoughtful about this piece that involves the larger potential changes.
Okay, Joe, I know you
And-
have something to say. Did you? have something?
I think we're close to, I certainly agree with getting the engineers going and basketball court. And again, I just, been around this community for a long time and I remember the shuffleboard court. So there's a little nostalgia that's kind of driving my opinion, right? But I think, I do like the idea of including that in one of the designs and, but more importantly, I'd like to hear what our Parks Committee has to say, not only about that, but about, their recommendations and whether or not we can consolidate or whether we should have separate, or we should just stick to one, when I say one, pickleball versus tennis. Without that input, I mean, I did some, research as well following our meeting, and believe it or not, there's like a 5-to-1 population of tennis players to pickleball players, but, pickleball is growing at 20% a year and tennis isn't, so.
Right.
Where they level out, who knows right now, but right now, just looking at pure statistics, I would say we can't ignore, the need to have tennis down there. And then I didn't even consider some of what you said, Scott, about potential disruptions and what have you. So I guess that's my long-winded way of saying, I like to see us get as much as we can out of our dollar. And if that means less is more and repurposing, having multi-use courts, that's kind of the direction I'm leaning in, with the addition of, maybe the shuffleboard court. But I definitely want to hear from our Parks Committee. I mean, they're the ones that have been looking at this all the time, and, and I agree with Council Peterson, the decisions with us, not with them, but we should hear their recommendations. That's what they're there for. So.
Russ?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I appreciate where this is going because, my perspective on this, if I was to have, and I'm in support of the motion to begin the planning process. If I was to have to choose one of the plans, it'd be the one that's not the one that was being displayed right now, but the one that was previously on page 98 of the PDF. And less is more, in my opinion. I mean, this is not a recreation complex. This is a village square, and it's been a very casual use over the years for art fairs, for square dancing, for ballroom dancing demonstrations. It was an ice rink at one time. So, but that's all been very kind of organic use as opposed to let's plan on having a recreation complex. So I think it's important to recognize how it's actually being used and make it the best it can be for the use that people are currently making of it, right?
Right.
And bringing back the shuffleboard court, I've had a lot of people have said, that's a great idea. And it wasn't mine, it was brought to me and said, this is something we should do. I've already had people that have offered to donate money towards it in addition to this. So I think it's just, we should think about how it's being used today and make it the best it can be as opposed to remaking it into something that's really not intended to be. And I think it's also important to talk with the school because there's 4 tennis courts up there. And I know we had some discussion at the workshop. And I had a question, can any of the money be used to maybe help the school if there's a discussion about maybe making those courts? If we decide to maybe move a pickleball court up there or something, I don't know, I'm just thinking how much flexibility the state money might have in maybe using that to assist the school. I don't know, I'm just opening up that for conversation. Just put that out there. I don't know if you even have an answer to that question, but that's something we should be engaging with the school with because if people are looking for a court to play on and that one's being used, direct them up the hill. I mean, it's really, we need to be better at that. The other question I had was on the basketball court itself, and I didn't pick up on this before, the VersaCourt tiles. Is that a proposal, or is this going to be a cement court, or is this, I wasn't quite clear on where we were going with that. It's, if you notice, it's on each one of the renderings. It's VersaCourt tiles, alternative for basketball court. So are we looking at, I'm just curious.
John, can you talk about
That
that?
would-
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be an option. One option. What we talked about is potentially including that as a bid alternate, just to put a cost on it and then decide if it's within the budget.
Okay.
The thinking is we're going to try to reuse as much of the existing concrete as we can. So simply, some kind of a paint is probably not going to, bring it up to a standard that everybody wants. So this would be an option to, cheaper than replacing the concrete, but give you a premium surface at the same time.
Okay. Because that court, as I think most folks know, both courts actually get used several times a year for art and crafts fair. And so we'd want to think about the durability of the surface, and the concrete has worked well for that. So I'm just kind of putting that out there too. And we need to think about the multi-use that these places get in terms of different types of activities on the course and so forth. So, but I think we're getting to the right place on this. I really appreciate the comments that have been made by my fellow council members tonight. And, I want to be out there playing shuffleboard.
Okay, so it sounds like the consensus, and we can get a motion, but we'll ask PPW to take a look at the pickleball tennis options, considering usage, what's needed, sort of the noise, busyness in that area, and sort of use, just to get a sense of usage. But we will approve this, or
Right.
we will vote on this, and that can get the engineers going.
I just want to mention real quick, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Yeah,
This is an adjustable net, if you'll notice here. So, I mean, it makes it so that you can raise it, you can lower it for the standard that was the concern before about pickleball. I have to agree with Scott, and I think with Russ, and I believe Peterson, Council Peterson, previous mayor.
he could be mayor for the moment.
I like the more the green space, the better. Kind of replace what it is. The more green space, the better. That one rendering with 4 courts, that's kind of scary to me. To imagine, all those 4 courts being used, and that ping, ping, ping going all day,
People are gonna get hit by balls.
Yeah, that too. The additional of the shuffleboard, that would be going in the place. You can see where the old tiny little basketball court that it never gets used. So I'm kind of leaning towards Scott idea. I do like the idea of asking PPW's opinion, but I hate to have any kind of conflict, when it seems like we're all on one page, and I hate to have them come back and suggest something, and then we look like we don't want that. You know what I mean? I don't know if that'd be a waste of time, but.
Well, I have to believe our community members that are on PPW would take a look at our meeting,
Yeah.
at our meeting minutes,
Yeah,
and
sure.
hopefully watch the video of our workshop and what we've been wrestling with today. I mean, I think we just, if we're not under a tight deadline, I think, we all agree the basketball court's like for like, but, they may have a view on, to Councilman Gardner's point, on what surface is best. I don't know, perhaps,
right.
perhaps this Versa court is the way to go. It's safer for people to play on. Perhaps it's even less noisy. I mean, these are things that I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
And, I'm not saying that I'm going to, whatever they say goes. I'm right now, I think based on, I've completely changed my view on this from the workshop after having done some work. I mean, if it was push come to shove, if we had to,
Yep.
capture these funds tonight, I would be for basically like it, which is the first rendering with the shuffleboard court.
Okay,
But I'd like to hear from more. If we have time, yeah, I'd like to
Okay.
bring it.
Mayor,
let's get a motion.
go ahead and make the motion to approve the Lisa Vanderbrink proposal to provide design and construction engineering services for Village Square Park improvements project in the amount of $35,000.
Second.
Second, Gardner,
Or-
voice vote, or roll call vote?
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
And Peterson, yes.
Motion carries. Great. Thank you. Moves us to proposals for logo and branding refresh on page 103. Ryan, you want to tee it up? I know we talked in fairly good detail at the workshop.
Yep, we talked at the workshop about the city receiving 26 proposals for this project. The recommendation from the brand logo and branding committee is advisory committee is the select Concept A Creative Studio. Their proposal is $24,500. Unfortunately, chair or the kind of quasi chair of our committee wasn't able to make it tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Motion to approve the proposal and creative services agreement from Concept A Creative Studio for the logo and branding refresh project in the amount of $24,500.
Any questions before we vote? All right, roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
And Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. And that takes us to page 106, the new historic district signage. Grayson, you want to? Again, we talked about this at our workshop, but
Yeah, absolutely. So similarly, Concept A has been working with the Historic District Commission on establishing some of their wayfinding signage to be standalone from the overall city rebranding project. So after taking the commission's feedback during their round one, an additional 2 directions were proposed, and the commission collectively agreed to recommend round 2, direction 1, which is on page 111 for approval, and that's inspired by the cornice of the Butler Pantry, which is Sagatuck's oldest existing building.
great. Get a motion, which would be on
It's
page.
the final paragraph of 106.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended proposal round 2, direction 1 is prepared by Concept A Creative Studio for 3 single-faced cast aluminum signs, each measuring 24 inches by 36 inches, mounted on 8-foot posts as detailed in the specification sheet included in the meeting packet dated February 9th, 2026.
Second.
Second.
Any questions or comments before we vote?
A little bit. I'm just struggling with the price of it. These signs are $25,000 each.
2,500.
Or 2,500, I'm sorry. And so that's, 7,500 for 3 signs. And I know that we're getting it done in, out of town. Is there any way that we could have found somebody local or in Michigan that does this kind of aluminum casting? Was there any other price bids other than when you guys worked on this? Where did you price it out, or did you just go with this one company that you knew?
I know that Concept A was working with Tim specifically on getting it priced out.
Right.
I'm not sure if they looked at other options in Michigan. Brian might have been more in that conversation. I'm not sure if they reached out to you.
Yeah, I had the same concern that Councilmember Muncy has. I love the design. This is
Yeah.
great work. I was a little troubled by the $2,500 for 3 signs, $7,500 plus the time and effort for the DPW to have to install these as well. The 2 things, one is, this is something that seems to me that could be competitively bid and probably get a reduced price. And number 2 is we should definitely keep this within state. I think it was a Pennsylvania company that Concept A works with. So those 2 things to me would be just, I think, pretty easy to do. And maybe that's the right price for what's being scoped. But again, I don't buy signs that often, but it seems to be higher than I would think.
Mhm.
More of a due diligence type.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, like I said, we can check back with Concept A and see what other, price points they receive. This isn't something that the price wise under our ordinances that would require competitive bidding. Typically for something like this, we probably would want to get 3 quotes unless we felt like the sort of craftsmanship or work was so specialized to where, there's something, unique here, which not sure that that's necessarily the case, but if you're not comfortable, we can, you could postpone this and we could come back with, touch base with Concept A's. There's not something unique to this that would prohibit other folks from providing quotes. We can see what some other quotes might be and also get a little more reasoning from them on why this particular firm is being, recommended. And
I think that would be the responsible thing to do.
Mhm.
All right.
I mean, these are gonna, are supposed to, I mean, there was some discussion about longevity last time. I mean, these are supposed to last, you know, many, many years. I don't know that, at least from what I'm hearing, I don't know if Scott has any thoughts on whether the price scares him or not. I think given the quality or the material that's involved here, it seems like I was comfortable with it, reviewing it, but,
And he addressed that, if I'm recalling correctly, at the workshop, he addressed looking for the durability, and that's why, which led them to the vendor that they're recommending.
Well, my understanding was they've worked with this vendor before, have had very good luck working with them, and that's why they were recommended going forward. I'd asked the question, they didn't seem to have any problems with durability, but I was more trying to pick up, is there a warranty or anything that comes with this? How long does the
Right.
finish last? And that was the only thing that I didn't really hear an answer to, but, you know, they said they were gonna look into.
Uh-huh.
But I wasn't as concerned about, yeah, the price seems high, but it's also, you know, whenever you get into something that's unique and requires some sort of craftsman type approach, I assume that, you know, probably wasn't that bad. And if they were comfortable working with this company and they believed they had good products that carried a little weight with me, I'd just like to know are they gonna stand behind the product if the finish fails? I mean, we have bad winters around here, so.
And I understand it's kind of a specialty, but these are made everywhere. You know, I see these types of signs, you know, made everywhere. And I've got to think that there's got to be some kind of Michigan company or something closer to home where we can support, you know, that's what went through my mind.
Yeah,
Madam,
Yes, Chris.
I kind of go along with council member Dean's comments on the last time. If we're not in any real rush, then it would be, could see putting it back and taking the time to see if there are other quotes. The Michigan company, I mean, for sure, we'd want to find that out. If there
Yeah.
was a Michigan company that did that.
Right.
And then get some idea of bids, right?
Okay, it sounds like that's where the votes are. So how do we withdraw?
you just
I
make a
would-
motion to postpone this.
I would
to
make a motion to table this proposal until we have some more due diligence completed on sign costs as well as possible Michigan sources.
A second.
Right, or roll
A
call.
little discussion. I mean, I'm happy to go along with the council on this one. But is it worthwhile just adjusting the motion and directing Concept to, you know, research competitive bids? You know, would they go with the most expensive one? I don't know. I mean, or could they just say, no, you mean, if you want this to last for 25 years, we don't know anybody else that can do it for this price and get the quality. I mean, I guess what's the most efficient way to do this? It's just to table it and just have the conversation, or just
Yeah.
or to direct them to put it out for bid.
I think we just want more information, including the exploration of a Michigan vendor.
Okay, that's fine too.
And we've got the design in hand. Now it's just a matter of
Right.
materials and the manufacturing and where and cost.
All right, so the motion is to table this. To
Second.
roll call
I
vote?
second.
Oh, we did.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Sure, yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
And Peterson.
Yes. Motion carries. Takes us to 14F, the short-term rental licensing ordinance amendment, page 116. Grayson.
So I know this was talked about during the Wednesday workshop as well, but if it's all right with you, I'd like to take a little bit more time to go through this one. And just note the specific changes that were included in this amendment. Including a fixed license renewal date, which will establish a consistent renewal cycle, because all licenses will now take effect on the same date as the expiration of the prior license. The addition of an application window allowing for applications to be submitted for renewal no earlier than 60 days and no later than 30 days prior to the license expiring. Minor discretion has been delegated to the enforcing officer in a case where an extraordinary circumstance beyond the applicant's control has caused for untimely submission has been included. And then finally, a one-time amnesty has been incorporated for those applicants which meet the following requirements. The short-term rental license expired between April 24th, 2025, and the effective date of the proposed ordinance. The license holder submitted a renewal application after the original renewal deadline, but before the license actually expired. The renewal otherwise complied with all applicable city code requirements. And this amnesty period requires all applicable licenses to be applied for within 5 calendar days of the ordinance's effective date and is subject to a late fee. Happy to answer any questions that have come up about the ordinance.
Chris?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Will we be letting these people know? Or
That-
how do they find out?
As you say, that's not written into the ordinance, but that could be up to your discretion.
Kind of dovetailing with that question, do we have a list of the properties impacted by this? I mean, we know the folks that came and talked to us about it, made the proposal, but do we have an exact list of properties impacted by this?
Yes, I do have a list. There were 8 properties that fit into the timeline specifically. One of those properties would not have qualified because they did not meet the applicable city codes. Specifically, they didn't get their fire inspection done timely, so not really an application issue. And 2 of those are unable to be renewed under this ordinance due to applying after that application period. So the 30 days before they would have needed to apply, they applied much after that or after that 30 days.
So their license
Sorry,
expired.
Expired, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is 5 then,
Yes.
if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yep.
And so what we were solving for, if we kind of go back to the discussions, were it was the confusion between the renewal deadline and the license expiration date. So which is a 30-day window. So people who not only missed the application deadline, but also didn't apply before their license actually expired are not included in this. Because I mean, that obviously they weren't confused. They just missed the deadline. And the sort of the act of God, we added that in, which is, we agreed to do. And then there were a number of folks who were not happy that if they applied early, their renewal date or their license expiration date changed. So they felt like they were kind of losing some money by applying early. So the actual license expiration date isn't going to change, but now they can apply up to 2 months before the expiration date. And those seem to be the pain points that there was consensus to address among council.
At least the 2 that I'm aware of. I mean, just to give you some context of how far after the expiration date we're talking about, at least a couple that wouldn't be eligible under this. I think one had a expiration date, I think, was the beginning of July. They applied in, the beginning of August. We're talking over a month after it expired. And then the folks that you heard from last time, I think were due back in October and then applied in January. We're talking about several months after the license actually expired before another application was received. So
Yeah, I did actually just do the math, and the first one was 30 days after their license expired, and the second one was 71 days after the license had expired.
They say why?
They just forgot.
All right, get a motion?
Is there a motion right now?
I don't see a sample motion here.
Memo provided.
Let's see one.
It should be on the bottom of page.
the other motion would be, motion to
To
approve
approve.
and name the ordinance number and then the
Okay.
title of the
I'll go
ordinance.
ahead
So,
and make a motion to approve ordinance number 260209-A, short-term rental licensing ordinance or amendment.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion before we vote?
Just comment is, again, this, as I said at the workshop, this reflects responses to concerns that we heard from this community and from these homeowners. So I really appreciate that. And two is, there's no harm in us looking at the service we provide to our essential customers, our residents. So this is good. We should be looking at this on a regular basis and getting feedback on how it's working for folks. I mean, this is a business that we're running, a service actually to our community. And so like any other service we provide, we should be looking at this on a regular, consistent basis to make sure it's working as expected. And, the folks that work it in the city hall can also give us feedback. So again, this is a great opportunity just to make sure we're doing things the right way.
Yeah. All right. It's a roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, last item is goals and priorities for fiscal year 26-27 on page 123.
Ready for a motion, Mayor?
Sure.
Motion to approve the goals and priorities for fiscal year 2026, 2027.
Second.
No discussion.
I want to raise one thing for discussion is that, that we don't have specifically, we didn't call out a technology plan on this. We have the AT&T, unless I'm mistaken, or is it tech?
Well,
Tell me how we've covered that. I just want to be sure we aren't sneaking a priority in that we didn't mindfully add.
yeah, I mean, the way that it's worded, and we had kind of enhanced it from the way it's worded this year. This year, the current fiscal year that we're in, the priority is to kind of work with AT&T on the cellular antenna installation. It's kind of expanded a bit based on the feedback from the strategic planning session to say encourage AT&T cellular antenna installation, which I still think is applicable given
Yep.
with small cell, and other telecommunication improvements from the private sector. So we will continue to advocate for our needs here we did that with Frontier even to say, hey, we really want you to bring fiber here. So I did let Jill Dunham know as well about give her the status update. We can work with her to see when she has some availability to come back as well. But that item, I think hopefully this captures.
I think it's still,
Thank you.
I agree. I think it's still fit for purpose. It doesn't specify where or what. So, yeah.
All right, any discussion or questions before we vote?
Just real quick, this is on our website now, or is it live yet, or?
Not
after
yet.
we
I
vote?
get you to approve it, but
Right,
we'll get it
but
out
we'll
there,
have
yeah.
this up so that people can see this.
Yep, and remember, these technically start next fiscal year.
Correct.
But we'll, as soon as we get into the budget presentations,
Right.
we'll be showing this a lot. We'll get a copy on our website. Yep.
Okay, great.
Awesome. All right, roll call.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
Peterson.
All right, I sense an itchy council. Takes us to public comments, a second public comment period. Anyone in the room can make a comment about anything. You have 3 minutes, and if you could begin by telling us your name.
James Sermon, 790 Lake Street. So I'm wondering how many people have the service of Republic's trash service. Has anyone received an additional bill for like $1
This isn't a Q&A, so you're.
Well, I have,
Okay.
and I'm certain other people have,
I
the
have.
city.
Mhm.
And we called them and we had it taken back because we paid our bill, the 3 months or whatever it is we paid. And then we get another bill in the mail for $1 which means I have to write a check for $1 So what is happening with that? I'm wondering. And if everyone is getting a bill like that, that's quite a bit of money. And I'm wondering whether if that's in the city contract with Republic Services, is this just, a windfall for them or something that they're getting, that they're imposing on everybody? So that's my concern about that.
Okay.
And another thing that I'd like the city to make the city aware of is that the AI and what's going on with AI, these data centers that are popping up all over Michigan. There's a march going through Michigan westward, and they're coming our way. So I'd like to see the city be proactive and making sure they stay out of Laketown Township and Saugatuck Township, because there's a lot of horror stories out there about what they're doing. And uh, it's just like what happened in in the 80s with blue collar venture capitalists decimating blue collar workers. The same thing is happening, only this time they're going after white collar workers with data centers and the use of the data. So they need to be checked. And I think the city and the township need to take the stance as they did with the Flying J who tried to come into Saugatuck. They need to be proactive and make sure that they're not going to be taking advantage of the citizens of Saugatuck Township and Laketown Township. Because this is prime farmland, this is what they're taking. Prime farmland, and there's air pollution, heat pollution, there's water pollution. There's all these things that are going on. So I'd like to see the city being proactive on keep them out of our area that could decimate and destroy and affect our tourism area and jobs.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Concern, James.
Anyone online wish to make a public comment?
Nick.
Nick.
Sorry for having to do this in my car. Nick Masters, co-owner and general manager of Holiday Hill. I got kicked out of the coffee shop I was in. They closed. So I just wanted to make comment. I'm super excited about this Park Street exploration. I've been in touch with John Moxie and Scott Herbert many times over the years. I wanted to offer ourselves as resources on that side of the river with the neighbors there. It's of great concern to all of us, the safety of that, the structural integrity of that. On our property with the low water now, it's slowed down a bit, but that road is collapsing right near Van Dalsen Street. And there's been sheet pile put in, but we've lost a telephone pole there already. And the new one they put in is already losing its stays. The last one was hanging on the street. Having grown up in that area my whole life, teaching sailing at the yacht club, having all the little kids up and down that street on bikes, it's a miracle that no one's been hurt severely yet because people come flying through there. And I really try to be on top of these meetings when we talk about this stuff. I know that there's been radar detectors put in and that's helped and certain signage. But I just, at the end of the day, want to offer an olive branch here on helping however I can. Scott and John know how to get a hold of me. Here for you guys anytime as those discussions go forward. And anyways, Dad, yeah, just very excited that this is finally being addressed because it's a real problem, especially that pinch point between us at Perryman and into Bald Head, because these hordes of people come across on the ferry and go to Bald Head, and that's a major attraction for our town, and they get funneled in there. Even last summer, we had a gentleman hit the wall and his car broke down, and that stopped traffic, that stops emergency vehicles from getting through to Oxbow if you have an issue, or on Mount Bald Head if you have an issue. It's a real ordeal there, and it's a complicated one because those property lines are all old school stuff. That the road is actually on our property and the hill is actually on the city property. These things were not, when they built that road, they just said, screw that, we're going to go around that hill. So there's a lot of things like that are old school that need to be addressed, and we're all in our corner very happy to work with you guys cooperatively and find some solutions. And I'm happy to make myself available with the years of cell phone recordings and things that I've seen happen down there. And we just want everybody to be safe and find a solution for it.
Great.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Nick.
Nick.
Thank you.
Anyone else? That takes us to correspondence. We had a letter also about data centers there. Council comments. Gregor, you want to start?
Just a few things. Want to have condolences to two wonderful community members, unfortunately, and that we lost here, Don Beery, who lost, and then also Betty. Yeah. And they were wonderful people in our community. They were characters that made Saugatuck what it is. And just wanted to reach out. Betty's her funeral will be at the St. Peter's on the 19th
20th,
at 4 p.m.
20th,
The 20th, I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
20th at
Is it-
4 p.m.
visitation the night before.
Visitation is the 19th, that's right. And then the funeral is the 14th. Visitation at 4 p.m. at St. Peter's. So we haven't heard back from about Don Beery, but they're both people that were wonderful in this community, served this community in many ways, and just wanted to show our condolences.
Thank you, Grady.
Yeah, I would like to echo that. It's always sad to see someone that you know in your community that is a member of your community that's one of your neighbors pass. So I echo what Councilman Muncy said. And I'd also just like to compliment the council. I think a really good 2 hours of discussion on some pretty important stuff, and I thought it was a really good council discussion tonight.
Great. Joe?
Yeah, same thing. My condolences go out. Betty, yeah, her husband, late husband, was chief of police.
Great.
First saw it for a while. In fact, I got in trouble a few times and he corrected me, showed me the errors of my ways. Anyway, yeah, imagine that. Anyway, I miss having her. She'd drive by her scooter by my house.
Right.
We'd always have nice conversations and anyway, so yeah, she will be missed. And Don as well. That was a good guy. Like to talk to him every day when I walk my dog. So I want to thank our DPW guys, a lot of early mornings during the bad weather. So just call them out for that. Thank you.
Russ?
Yeah, so Betty Jones and Don Beery, with their passing, this town's just a little bit less fun, a little bit less interesting. That they are, Betty particularly was a character. Don was very quiet. I've known Don since I can remember, and Don was just always there doing things for the school and the kids, and was very quiet and unassuming, like his brother as well. And Betty was not quiet and unassuming.
Right.
I got to know Betty. Betty babysat me when I was a little kid. Lived next door to my house. My dad was on council at the time that Lyle was chief. So I got to know Chief Jones, and he showed me some discretion occasionally for things that I did, and part of a small town. And I've gotten to re-know Betty over the past couple of years through church, and went to see her regularly. And she's a very special person, and was in a good place when she passed. I have so many stories about Betty and Lyle that, she's a very special place in my heart. Her daughter, Lisa, was a very good friend of my sister, Beth. Butch, of course, Butch is well-known in his life as well. And I don't know where to even start with telling stories about either one of these two, other than they're going to be they will be missed. And Betty's visitation, as Councilmember Muncy said, is on Thursday, the 19th from 4 to 7 in St. Pete's. Her funeral's on Friday, the 20th at 11 a.m. and there's visitation from 10 to 11 as well at the church. So I'm sure that will be a packed event. Betty touched a lot of people on her cart, and when she worked at the hospital, and then when she worked at Herman Miller and her garage sales.
Yep.
There's the Betty ordinance, actually. When I was talking with Councilmember Peterson before the meeting, the reason we have a garage sale ordinance is because Betty had a habit of having a constant garage sale. And so there was some complaints made, and she didn't like it when I said that to her, but that was in response to just some concerns. But she's going to be greatly, greatly missed, and touched a lot of lives, as did Don too. I mean, I don't know how to even describe the impact they had on the community. And maybe on a bit of a different note, I would like to have on a future workshop some discussion about our downtown sidewalk ice and snow maintenance. I think we have to have some discussion about whether the city is going to continue to enforce its ordinance to have business owners clean their sidewalks when we have snow and ice, or if the city is going to pull that responsibility. If you walk downtown at all during this time of the year, you'll see the spots that are not taken care of and the spots that are. And we really encourage people to come and enjoy our town. And when it looks the way that it does, I think we need to have some discussion about what effort we want to make to either take it on ourselves or enforce the ordinance that we have. So I'd like to have some discussion around that sooner rather than later.
You do?
Yep. I'm done.
Same way with the condolences for Betty and Don. Betty was one of the reasons for the garage sale ordinances, and I fought those, and I still haven't gotten them off the books, as Scott knows. I've tried to get them off the books. In terms of the Mount Bald Head Radar Station, it's as old as I am. And I'm needing some upkeep too, but I'm hoping I'll be good for another couple years.
It's really hard to follow that, Chris. Also offer my condolences and echo, it was a good discussion about a lot of things. So thanks for hanging in. I think we can get a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
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 Meeting adjourned.